All right, let's move to another game that happened in the Big Ten tonight. Ohio State went into Bloomington and they got run out of the gym. Trace Jackson Davis looked like a guy that should be a first-team All-American. He looked like a guy that deserved hype for Big Ten Player of the Year. He had 27, he had 12 boards, he had 5 ridiculous blocks. It feels like nothing that dude does is quiet, right? Like he's either throwing down some ridiculous dunk or going baseline on somebody and dunking it on their head, or blocking a shot off the backboard that you're like, I don't know how he got that, or saving a ball off the top of Joey Brunk's head. It feels like Sweeney, he's not getting the kind of attention that you would expect out of a dude that's putting up the numbers that he's putting up for Indiana.
I think the biggest thing today with Trace was there was an urgency about it. And I think as a leader, that's something that needed to develop for him, and coming off that disappointing loss against Penn State. And look, the first 2 years of his career, Trace put up incredible numbers, but I thought when Indiana needed a leader, Trace was quiet, right? And I just felt like in this game, it was very obvious that they knew they needed to win this game, and Trace was not going to let them. He came out, he set the tone in this game, both on offense and defense with those 5 blocks, like you mentioned, Rob. And I think, look, he's so explosive and powerful. His game is just incredible to watch, and overwhelmed a front court in Ohio State that I think is one of the better front courts in the country. I mean, this is a front court that, beat Duke because they overwhelmed Mark Williams up front, right? I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. Ohio State has an excellent front court. And Trace Jackson Davis, and to a lesser extent, Race Thompson, who had 11 and 7 today, they won that matchup and got Indiana a much needed win.
Mm-hmm. Ashton, are you worried about this Ohio State team? They're sitting here at 9-3 now. They're the one team that has knocked off Duke, who, for my money, is the most talented team in college basketball. But they lost to Xavier, they lost to Florida. They really struggled at Nebraska on I guess that was Sunday night. Malachi Branham kind of bailed them out by going for 35. Is this just the nature of the Big Ten? Maybe we kind of forgot just how ridiculous it is to go on the road and play in front of a raucous crowd in Assembly Hall. Like, is this just the nature of conference play that you're going to have a tough time playing away from home?
I think it's the nature of conference play for sure, but at the same time, they just aren't playing well, and I think their biggest Achilles heel is guard play. Michi Johnson, they get what they need from EJ Liddell, but it's just been him for the most part. Zed Key got in foul trouble early on tonight, and it kind of hurt him because that's when Trace Jackson Davis, that's when he really went off. But overall, just the Big Ten overall is just such a tough conference that you get in these slumps. One game can turn into 3 or 4 losses in a split second. So they definitely have, a couple things that they need to that they need to definitely fix. But I think it comes from the guard play. You talk about Indiana, Xavier Johnson, Parker Stewart, veteran backcourt that really took advantage of them, I thought, today as well, along with Trace Jackson Davis. So if they fix up that guard play, I think they'll be okay, just because you know what you're getting overall from EJ Liddell consistently.
Are you worried about it, Sweeney?
I'm not, because I think they're going to get better as they get Justice Sueing back. I think he's so important, especially because once they lost Dwayne Washington, they were going to run a lot of their offense through Sueing, and Holtman had to switch things up. I do think, though, that it's a weakness. And look, Holtman tried to address the loss of Dwayne Washington late with Cedric Russell kind of scrambling late. Russell's been a disappointment in the portal, has not made a huge impact with the exception of a really good second half against Duke. I think they needed more from the backcourt to be, a Big Ten contender. I think this is a good team, a tournament team, maybe a top 25 team, but to be in that upper echelon, to be in the mix for a Big Ten title like they were last year, they need better guard play than what they've gotten so far.
All right, I want to ask both of you guys this question. Is there a favorite in the Big Ten right now? Tough, right?
I still think Purdue is. I still really do. I know they just lost at home to Wisconsin, but look, I think as I think that loss taught them a lot of lessons about how hard they need to play on defense to win. And I think they have some problems, right? Like Edey is going to put them in some weird spots defensively because of his lack of mobility. And, even Stefanovic and Thompson aren't big. And I thought that was an issue against Johnny, but I just think they're so explosive on offense. That offense is such a unstoppable force that I just don't see another team that's going to be able to get to 15, 16 Big Ten wins. I think Purdue is that team. I think they're still the favorite. Would it stun me if someone else won it? No, but I just think they're just a little bit ahead of everybody else.
Ashton?
I would have to agree in terms of Purdue, and the only reason why I say that is Jaden Ivey's just box office in terms of him just taking over a game and his pace, the way he can literally change the pace of a game from a split second. They have guys like a Travion Williams that, can finish around the basket, but I love his playmaking skills. He not only can he score around the basket, but this guy can pass with the best of them. And that inside, that 1-2 punch in terms of Ivy and Travion, I think overall is going to give them that, that win for the Big Ten overall.
I'm worried about Purdue defensively. They're giving me some Illinois some Iowa 2021 vibes in terms of you can't stop them offensively. You can get whatever you want against them because they cannot stop you defensively. I think that Wisconsin absolutely at this point deserves to be like in the best team in the Big Ten conversation. We can't overlook the fact that Michigan State is sitting there at 4-0 in the conference right now. You can't overlook the fact that Illinois is sitting there at 4-0 in the conference right now. I do just want to ask you before we move on. I do want to ask you guys one thing. What do you make of the start of the Mike Woodson era at this point? Right, like it's still early. But we do have a 14-game sample size here. They are 11-3, which is good. They've won every game that was decided by more than 6 points. They've lost every game that was decided by 5 or fewer points. They lost in double overtime to Syracuse, who's not really all that good. They lost by 5 at Wisconsin, which actually looks, considering, pretty good right now. And they lost by 3 at Penn State. So all 3 of their losses came on the road. All 3 of their losses came in close games. Ashton, what do you make of the start of the Mike Woodson era?
I think he's doing well. And you talk about the transfers, Xavier Johnson, Parker Stewart, 2 pick guys as his backcourt. Trace Jackson Davis. Overall, he has a star. I think they need more out of Xavier Johnson. He did it at Pitt. I think if he's just a little bit more aggressive, looking at the basket, scoring just a bit more, making a few more plays from the perimeter, I think these guys can be a really good team. But overall, you talk about a first season, especially in a loaded Big Ten, I think he's doing really well, Mike Woodson, and implementing his NBA style within it. Anytime Trace Jackson gets the ball around the basket, I love the way he utilizes them in terms of ISOs, pick and dives, dribble handoffs, rim runs, the way he just shows his motor. He's done a really good job, I thought, Mike Woodson. But for them to get to the next level, I think they need more out of Xavier Johnson for sure.
I think the one thing I'll say is I'm not sure I would have expected the results to be any different under Archie Miller with this team, right? With Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, I don't think this team is significantly different than the teams we just saw under Archie. And that doesn't mean the future couldn't be bright. I think, the kids they have recruited, and I thought Woodson did a really good job hiring a staff that knew how to recruit. And they've got some really good kids in 22 and 23 that will help be the foundation. But with the group that he has right now, I don't feel like they're overachieving or underachieving what we just saw for 4 years under Archie that eventually led to them wanting to make a change and go bring in Mike Woodson. And he's got the rest of Big Ten play to prove that's wrong. But right now, I think they look like a bubble team. And I think wasn't that the whole problem before? I guess that's my question with Indiana right now. And look, they have one of the best players in sport and an opportunity to get right back into that mix and climb into the top 25. But right now, I haven't seen anything that tells me they're significantly different than they were under Archie.